All right, just going to invite our guest here and we will get started shortly. All right, hello and welcome to the third episode of Snack Break by Ortho Snacks, where we interview physical therapists, fitness professionals, and health and wellness experts. My guest today is a 2017 graduate of the University of Southern California. She, she, much like my last guest, Matt, has had a super, I guess, whirlwind of a last year. So she got engaged to someone who is a good friend, previous classmate, and now business partner. So
And
congratulations,
roommate, previous roommate
roommate.
too.
Scandalous.
Very, very. It worked out well though, so it's all good.
And, and most recently, she has been selected as the rehab director of Prehab. So for those who don't know, the Prehab guys do some physical therapy online, and they actually have an in-person clinic, and Adele's kind of running the show there. So welcome, Adele. I'm thrilled to have you on.
Yay, thank you. I'm so excited. First IG live. So
Awesome.
popping the cherry, very excited about it.
Yeah. But how's the week been so far? I saw you got to work out with your dog a little bit.
Yes. Oh my gosh, he's so funny. He like gets involved with every single workout now, so we have to like lock him upstairs because otherwise like it's like a little too like intensive. But no, it's good. I've been having a really good week. Had some patients every day, some filming, some front desk work, some admin work, a little bit of everything. So changing things up every day is nice.
Yeah, some good variety.
Yeah.
I pretty quick day for me too. I just had class from 8 to 9, and then since then not a whole lot. So hopefully gonna go outside and enjoy some weather later.
Yeah. Nice
Um,
way to start the weekend off.
yeah, for
Short
sure.
Friday.
hmm I'd like to start our conversation by just revisiting the last few years for you and kind of your transition from school to the clinic. You kind of mentioned to me before that you were in three different clinics pretty early on in your career, which I just want to say is I think it's pretty impressive. Someone who kind of um, has the mindset or the awareness to be able to realize they're not in a situation that's necessarily exactly what they want and be able to jump around. I think a lot of new grads would want to get set in a clinic and kind of develop themselves within there, even in the face of adversity. So just being able to jump and know a situation is not right for you, I think is pretty admirable. So if you can just
Thank
talk about kind
you.
of those first
Yeah.
couple experiences, I think I'd be very interested.
Yeah. Well, thank you. First of all, it's definitely not easy. So, my first year, so I am like about like 4.5 years out of school. I had three different
hmm
jobs, three different clinics. My first job I was at, I actually had my last rotation there and just started working out as soon as I graduated. I loved the clinic, like great work culture. I learned so much while I was there and like will forever be grateful for it. But the population just wasn't something that I noticed I was interested in, which is really funny because when I was in PT school, I was like, I don't want to do sports, like ortho, so boring, like everyone does it. Um,
hmm
but I ended up seeing a lot of like a geriatric population, and I just realized I wasn't really passionate about that. So it was just time to kind of move on, and like I felt like I outgrew that, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Like I think that a
hmm
lot of new grads feel like they have to stay, but really I feel like after a year or two, you should have outgrown where you were at. So that was the reason for leaving my first clinic. And then from there,
hmm
I got to treat my ideal patient population, which was sick, learned a lot about like ACL rehab, like all the fun stuff. But I just didn't have a lot of autonomy. I was kind of asked to treat in a particular way, or maybe expected to, which I
Yeah.
didn't enjoy. I'm kind of a free spirit. I like to do things my own way, as anyone who knows me will definitely tell you. So that kind of rigid structure is really difficult for me to follow. Um, so the nice thing about that is that I learned that that was something that I needed was autonomy, and that wasn't something that I knew leaving my first job, right? So every job that I left, I feel like I learned something else about myself. So that's kind of how I tried to flip it on its head. And that's not to say that that happened right away. It definitely took like months, if not like a year, to learn that and like see that as like a learning lesson. And then I ended up at my last job where I had autonomy. I had an awesome patient population. But for me personally, I don't think the culture was like a right fit. I
hmm
just didn't ever feel like I like fit in. And that was really hard for me. Like you go to work every single day, you're there like 9 to 5. Like you need to be happy where you're at, you know? And that's where I was like, all right, like, where do I find a clinic that has the population that I love, the culture that I love, and allows me to be autonomous? And after being in LA and working at 3 different clinics, it was just really challenging for me to feel like that existed. That's not to say that it
Hmm.
doesn't, but I had a hard time finding it. And that's when, for me, I realized, like, it's time for me. If I can't find it, like, why not create it? Like, if it doesn't exist, like, why can't I be the one to make that for myself? You know? And that wasn't
Yes.
a realization I came to by myself. I was doing like a mentorship program, which helped a lot, like a
Hmm.
mastermind program. And yeah, no, it was just, it finally gave me the self-confidence to be like, all right, let's do it.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
would you say you always had that those three criteria when you're looking for jobs? When did you kind of develop that?
It was just like one at a time. And that's what's so weird to say. I just learned something about myself at each job that I had, and
Hmm.
that's where it kind of reminds me of like a breakup. When you think about like a breakup in the moment, it's like really hard and you're like, this sucks. Like, I'm never going to get over this, like blah, 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 blah. And then like a year later, you're like, wow, like I learned this about myself from that relationship. Or I learned this is what I
Hmm.
want in my partner. And it's like, that's exactly how it kind of turned out, is that just every job, every relationship, that I was in, I learned something else that I wanted. So I didn't realize I needed all those things. It wasn't until like the, oh no, did it freeze for you?
Oops.
Are you good?
Yeah, I think
Are we
I'm good.
back?
Sorry about that. I think so.
No, I think, okay,
You
cool.
good? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so I guess another question I'd have for you then is is switching clinics early on something you would recommend for new grads? It sounds like you've had a great experience, but are there any
Yeah.
downsides or reasons why someone might not want to do that?
I think for me, the biggest thing is like, how would it look on a resume? Like, that was like my biggest
Hmm.
thing. Like, what kind of person is going to want to hire someone who's been at 3 different jobs outside of school, right? So it's all about
Hmm.
my biggest concern was how did it look to other people, right? And so I think in that case, yeah, like that can be a little bit scary. But I also think that if you end up with the right employer and you're able to verbalize why you've had so many jobs, and I would hope that a good employer would understand and appreciate that you
Hmm.
won't settle for what is not a good fit for you. And that means that if you do join their clinic or their company, that means that you really truly believe that that is a good fit for you.
Yeah, that makes sense. So just once you get in that new job, just kind of verbalizing the exact things that you've told us
Yeah.
in terms of why it wasn't a good fit and kind of what you're
Yeah.
looking for.
And I
Okay.
would hope that like a company and the clinic like wouldn't look down on someone for that. Like, I feel like there's so many more important things that are more
Hmm.
valuable about someone than how many jobs they've had or where they've worked.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So fast forward to the prehab days now. So it
Yes.
seems like you're very happy in the position you're in right now. What's your typical day look like?
I feel like there is no such thing as a typical day, which is really interesting and very different than like a staff PT role.
Hmm.
Um, but I would say generally speaking, like I wake up 6:30, get on my computer, communication. Half of our remote team is on the East Coast, so they're always like 3 hours ahead. So by the time you wake up, there's always work to be done, which is awesome. Love
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
And so go into that, and then I usually try to fit in a workout after that. So either it's like a Peloton at home or like come to the
Hmm.
gym. We have like we're very again very very fortunate to have like all the equipment I could possibly want and need at work. Shower at work, it's great. And then just start my day. And depending on the day, it could be like, 5, 6 patients. It could be 2 patients, a couple meetings, and then more patients. Or it could be a whole film day where we close down the whole set and the whole gym and we're filming YouTube videos or exercise library videos and things like that. So
Some
if
TikToks coming
some
soon, I see.
TikToks, yeah. That's kind of my jam, or I think it is. I might be too old for TikToks to be my jam, but we'll see. But yeah, so it's really nice because it keeps things exciting and different. Like we all say here, like we all wear many hats. And I think that's
Hmm.
what makes it so fun is that we all collaborate so much rather than feeling like you're in like your own silo. I was a little bit worried about it at first, to be honest. I was like, all right, like I'm a PT, like that's all I know. Um,
Hmm.
and I was worried that I was gonna feel unfulfilled, like not treating all the time. But I actually feel like the opposite. I feel like I'm a better clinician now because I feel like I can give more to my patients because I'm not so like spread thin all the time with patient care.
Yeah, and it sounds like I know when we talked before, you had kind of said in the past you didn't really consider owning your own clinic or being a clinic director. So it seems like a lot of learning took place along the way. How'd you kind of find out about the master class, or would you say that that is one of the big things that kind of helped you transition, or what other
Yeah, yeah.
resources?
I would say it was just, that intrinsic learning process of learning what my own values
Hmm.
were. But I definitely think the mastermind program that I did was really, really valuable. And just giving me permission almost to feel the way
Yeah.
that I did. I think coming out of school, we all feel like we're expected to work this like 9 to 5 job. And we're like a staff PT or you own a clinic or, there's nothing
Hmm.
really in between. And I think that I felt like there was something wrong with me for wanting something different before I started that. Like I was like, other people can work 9 to 5, like, and just treat 20 something plus patients a day. Like I should be able to do that. And it wasn't
Hmm.
until I took this mastermind group or joined it that I felt like I finally was like, okay, I'm different and that's okay. Like it's okay that I don't want to do the same things as other people. It's okay to do that.
Hmm.
And that's where I kind of had that realization of like, okay, what are my values? What do I want? Does that exist? And if not, let me create that for myself. And I'm just really lucky to have like my fiance and like my good friends who already are running such like a successful online business. So it only seemed fitting to kind of bring that into fruition in person.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess what would you say to maybe someone who's considering making the leap, or even a student who has that in mind in the future? Like what types of advice would you give them now, or things to start thinking about a little bit
I
before they
think
get to that point?
I think just really learn about what your values are and what it
Hmm.
is that you really want and what it is that you don't want. Because I think that leaving a clinic because you are just burnt out is not a good enough reason to start a business. I think there is a lot that goes into it that people might not realize.
Hmm.
Um, but also you want to make sure that if you were to do it, that you're doing it for the right reason. So really just understanding what your values are. Like, so for me, right, like clinically, it's like autonomy,
Hmm.
culture, population isn't really a value, but like for me, like authenticity, that's like another one for me. So feeling like I can truly treat the way I want and be the way I want at work, wear what I want at work.
Yeah,
Those are things that are really important to me.
cool. Um, and then this is just something I was just thinking about right
Yeah.
now, but just with the prehab guys doing so much transitioning physical therapy to online, how do you see that changing the field in the future? Do you think we'll see less in-person physical therapy and more transition like telehealth and things like that? Or do you think there's always going to be that demand for in-person?
I honestly think there's always going to be a demand for in person. It's funny because we were just talking about this the other day, and
Hmm.
I don't know if like people are aware of this. Like every PT clinic right now is like booming. Like everyone has like wait lists right now. So I like to think that us facilitating and educating and just creating more awareness of our field online can help
Yeah.
empower people to feel like they can, take their health and wellness journey into their own hands, and whether that be online or just even be willing to go into PT when their doctor says that, you need PT. A lot of people are like, I'm not going to do that. But maybe now
Yeah.
they'll feel empowered and they'll be like, okay, like maybe I will go to PT because I know what it is and I know what the benefits are.
Hmm.
And I think it'll just be a good way, like the online stuff, to, bridge that gap for the people who aren't willing to go in person. Because I personally still think that nothing will ever match like good in person PT.
Yeah.
But a lot of people might not have access to that because they live really far or financially they can't afford it. So I think it's just really nice to be able to bridge that gap so that everyone has access to it one way or the other.
Yeah. I think that's definitely a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Um, all right, Adele, I've got 5 questions that I ask all my guests if you're up for it.
Yes, let's do it. I'm
All right.
ready.
First question is, what is your biggest key to a successful day?
Um, Two, a Celsius, so an energy drink.
Okay. I've seen you
And
drinking those a lot. What's the story
uh,
behind them, or just
it's
super tasty?
in my head, I've told myself that they're healthier than Red Bull. Either they have
Okay.
really good marketing and they've convinced me of that, or I made that up. I have no idea, but they're
Hmm.
delicious. Um, and they give me way more energy than coffee. So a Celsius, depending on the day, but then gratitude is something that I'm trying to practice daily. I think life is full of ups and downs, good things and bad things. So if you can just ground yourself with like one thing that you're grateful for every day, whether it's like, I think like my dogs or
Hmm.
work, just helps keep you grounded.
Yeah, I've tried to do a gratitude journal in the past. I think the toughest part is just the consistency and staying on top of it.
My agenda, like my calendar, like my planner has a
Hmm.
box in it that says gratitude. So I have to
Yeah,
do it
okay.
every day. So it's like in my face. So
Yeah.
that's exactly, I totally
Not
get it.
leaving till you're grateful.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I'm usually a Red Bull guy too, so I might have to make the conversion
Yes.
as well.
There's like a pear apple one. That's like 10 out of 10
Okay,
recommend.
it's on the grocery list.
Yeah.
So my next question is, what do you wish someone would have told you 5 years ago today, or something you think would have had a big impact on you if you would have heard it a little bit earlier?
I think like perfection is the enemy of progress. Like
Hmm.
I feel like I'm like a recovering perfectionist that I'm is always trying to do things right. So learning
Yeah.
to thank our failures, something else I learned from one of my mentors, and embracing the speed bumps because that's kind of what's going to take you along your journey. So there's nothing wrong with those things.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think so many people just within the field of PT come in, kind of have that type A personality or perfectionist, so just knowing it's okay not to be perfect and that
Yeah.
progress isn't typically linear is just a
Yeah.
great thing to have in your mind.
Yeah,
So,
we preach that to our patients all the time, you know, like, or we should be. So we should try to
mhm.
live by those same principles, I think.
Yeah. My next question is, what book or product that you've encountered over the last 3 months has been the most impactful for you?
Dare to Lead by Brene Brown.
Okay.
Literally the best book ever. Like I just, again, oh, that's the other thing. So my mastermind group and this book, those are the two things that I think,
Hmm.
again, allowed me to just like embrace what I was going through.
Quick summary of the book, or what was the biggest
It just
takeaway?
teaches you like how to be a good leader. Like I've always been told, like, you're a leader, you're a leader. I'm like, I don't know what that means, you know?
Yeah.
And so just really understanding what the responsibility of being a leader means and how to be a better leader for those around you.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of cool just to have it defined in someone else's words and you can kind of pull from that
Yeah,
what you will. So
yeah, yeah.
awesome. Is there any quote or mantra that you live by?
Yes, I probably will butcher it. This is from my mentor,
Okay.
Emma Jack. It's belonging does not require you to change who you are. It requires you to be who you are.
I like it.
Yeah. So it's again just embracing and like being authentic to yourself. Like we always just want to fit in with like, you know, like our jobs or school or this or that, you know, and
Hmm.
just be who you are and like those that appreciate that will gravitate towards you and the people that don't, like, see ya.
So yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great message. Um, all right, and then the signature question of this podcast, Adele Smener, what is your go-to snack?
This is really lame. Plantain chips and hummus.
Yeah, okay.
Uh,
Any brand in
yes, of
particular?
course. Trader Joe's
Trader Joe's,
plantain
okay.
chips and the like red bell pepper hummus.
Okay.
Yeah, exhilarating, I know.
You are slowly filling up my grocery list. I like
Yes,
it.
yeah, it's like that and a Celsius and I'm good to go. That's my key to a
Yep.
good day.
All right. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to me. Do you have
Yes.
where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on IG, so at Not Your Basic PT. I'm located here in LA in Culver City. So also Prehab PT is our clinic handle, and then some guest appearances on the Prehab guys as well coming up.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for chatting with me today.
Yes.
And I look forward to continuing to follow you on Instagram and watching
Yes.
you grow as the clinic director at Prehab.
Thank
So
you. Thank you so much
awesome.
for having me. This is so fun.
Yeah, have an awesome
Yeah.
weekend
You.
and thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Happy Friday.
Bye.
Bye.